his eyes started to well up, and I could tell his heart was really heavy. And my heart started to get really heavy because I was like, oh my gosh, what could possibly be going on in his life that I wouldn't know about? That I wouldn't already be bearing with him, as a brother in Christ, which God has called every one of us to do. To bear each other's burden, not to condemn, not to heap judgment on, but to bear arm in arm, to carry each other. And he kind of entered into this story, and I was blown away. He said, for 5 years I've been dealing with something. And I was like, 5 years? How could I not know about this? How could I not see it? And anyway, I'll remember that day probably the rest of my life. And it changed my life. And some really cool things happened from that point on. But I'll let Mark continue on with that and share what happened next.
Well, I want to take them way back to this year, 1998. We had a record called Underdog, and it was one of my favorite Audio A records. It was real up, and it was about kind of God turning the loser into a victory and taking the least of these and making something incredible out of him to bring himself glory.